Welcome to the Hollywood Raw podcast. Over there is Dax Holt. My name is Adam Glyn. We are both wearing very similar things today. We are both wearing, if you're watching on YouTube or Red Coral, we're both wearing similar type of hoodies. I know you usually like to dress like Zelensky, but I
What?
I don't know.
You're so random.
No, what I did, actually, Dax, this is not into the. So you know where I go shopping? I shop at the sample sales. Are you familiar with sample sales? Do you have them out
like,
for you?
Are you talking about like when a store, like a warehouse, is giving away kind of stuff, basically?
Yes.
Okay.
I follow, and I'll give them a shout out. This 260 sample sale.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it's called, 260 sample sale. And they do sales like mostly in LA and New York. And the line gets crazy. You kind of have to go like on a weird day. Actually, probably go a little bit early, and you want to be one of the first people to go. But this sweatshirt is from Rag & Bone, which is a very nice brand. This hoodie is probably about a $280 hoodie, I would guess. That's my guess. How much do you think I paid for it?
Got to be kidding me. You paid $0 for it. You got it hooked up.
No, I paid.
Oh.
I paid like $35 for this hoodie.
Oh, well, you're a lot fancier than me. I think this thing is from like Target or something.
No, I wear a lot of Target as well. But these sample sales is like the way to go to get like designer clothes that cheap. I got like Rag & Bone jeans. I've gotten like, you just have to follow them. I don't know, quick, easy plug for them. I'm not trying.
Yeah, are they paying us? What's happening?
I'm not. But this past weekend was obviously the Oscars. Did you like the fashion at the Oscars? Like Timothée Chalamet wears a yellow suit. Did you like that yellow suit?
I wasn't against it. I feel like when you're a guy, it's really hard to have fashion to stand out. Like you see all the women walking around and they all have these like gorgeous dresses on and their hair's up. As a dude, you can't really do much, right? Like everyone just kind of wears a black suit, or maybe they do a navy blue, but it's kind of boring being a guy in fashion. So I like that he's switching it up. I like the yellow suit just because it's different. I don't know. Would you wear it on a normal day in a normal situation? No. Can you get away with it at the Oscars? Yes.
Yeah, listen, it was fun a little bit. It's one of those things where you wear it once, you'll never wear it again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure not like he paid for it or anything. I'm sure it was given to him. Adrien Brody on there, I thought he wore a great suit. Maybe the suit just fit him well.
You didn't like his little brooch thing, his little sparkly brooch.
Yeah, he had like this pin on the corner. I was like, that kind of ruins it. That was sort of lame. But actually, believe it or not, I like Conan's tux. Conan wore like this navy blue tux, like sort of like popped a little bit. And I thought that was really cool. So speaking of which, so obviously the Oscars.
Should we tell people that we went on live? We did like a TikTok live this year. We did something we had never done before, and we went on TikTok and just did like a watch party. Adam and I, we posted about it in our private Facebook group. I don't know how many of our normal listeners came to watch, but it was nice getting to hang out with you during the Oscars, Adam.
Yeah, I actually thought we did a good job. It was sort of fun. We dressed up for it, so we did. Maybe we'll start doing more of these live watch parties for certain things. I don't know how many.
Big money involved in doing live TikToking.
Yeah, huge money. I think now we could split a stamp for the money we made on it. Yeah, we did. It was, but listen, I enjoyed the awards. I don't really enjoy award shows, but I do enjoy the Oscars. No. Dax does not usually enjoy the Oscars.
No. I like the Oscars. It's a fun one. I don't like a lot of the other award shows. That one, I had a good time watching. It was so freaking long. This was the longest Oscars ever, Adam. I was just like, okay, it's not the longest ever, but it was like 4 hours and some minutes. I was like, or 3 hours and 47 minutes or something. And I was just like, oh my God, it's going on so long. And they started early.
They did start early, which I was not ready for.
No, Adam and I were behind the scenes. Adam and I are like, okay, we're going to go on TikTok live. You know, let's get ready. The show will start at 5 p.m. Pacific. Like it'll all be good. At 4:30, I just kind of turned on my phone to see some of the red carpet stuff. And I was like, holy shit, I've already missed a half hour of the show. I missed Conan's opening. I missed the beginning. I had to go YouTube it and watch it. Why did they start so early?
I don't know why they started early. And you got to remember, it started, 7-ish my time. I'm on the East Coast. That's 4 p.m. your time. So these people that are getting ready for the Oscars, they're starting at 6 a.m. They're starting at 6 a.m. to get ready for the Oscars. There's no like, hang out before. No, it's makeup. The whole day is the Oscars, because not just is the awards show start at 4. You have the red carpet probably starts at what,
I think
1:30,
it was
2
like
o'clock?
I think 1:30 is when the carpet started. And, we say that, but it's not, the big stars aren't going at 1:30. The big stars are going at the last second. And I think Timothée Chalamet walked the red carpet around like 3:30 to give you kind of perspective there of how quickly he goes on the red carpet, maybe does 1 or 2 interviews, if any interviews, gets his photo taken, and then like in the show. There's not a lot of time there to get him a lot more press than that.
I wonder how long he takes to get ready for the Oscars. And I'm sure he does makeup before going to the Oscars, you would assume, right?
I
Like,
would
he's got
assume
a
'cause
hair person, he showers, has a hair person, has a makeup person, has a stylist who puts on the suit. So he's got to be somewhat easy and quick.
Yeah, because that was like a custom made suit, the whole thing. So they're going to make sure he looks good. I would assume they do makeup because you got to do the red carpet. Like, just because you're a guy doesn't mean you don't do makeup. You got to look good you got a lot of lights on you, flashing cameras. Like, they need to make sure he looks good. It'll probably be a light makeup job, but nevertheless, make him look good.
It's a long day. And I'm also curious. This is something totally to be a celebrity,
Mhm.
it's a long day that you have to be on.
Yeah.
I'm just curious how caffeinated these people are, and if there is a lot of these people are on Adderall. And I say that seriously. Like, I'm very curious how many of these celebrities are just taking Adderall, popping Adderall all day, just to be on and sharp the entire time. The hosts, I mean, it's such a long day that it is difficult. Speaking of which, hosting wise, did you see Julianne Hough's interview with Timothée Chalamet?
No.
Dax,
Oh my, is it good?
it is so cringe. It's
Really?
so
What happened? Walk me through what happened.
so she brings out this little microphone. She goes,
By the
"Hey,
way, who is she interviewing for?
ABC."
Okay.
I guess it's like a pre-show type thing. She has this little mic. It might have been for like online. I don't know who she's doing the interview for. She goes to Timothée Chalamet. She goes, "Hey, can you show me your dance, like your go-to dance?" And he's like, "Huh?" And she's like, "I'll show you mine." She starts to do a body roll, and he goes, "Oh, that's cool. Like that's did you come out of the womb doing that?" Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, it made my back hurt from it." And he's like, "Oh, okay." It's like super awkward. And she's like, "All right, back to you guys." Like, it was just so weird and uncomfortable. Like, what? Like,
You know what though? People don't realize how hard interviewing can truly be. You're good at it, Adam, but like it can be a hard art form if that is not your first profession. And making things look smooth and comfortable and ask questions that people are interested in without coming across weird, and having to deal with the celebrity's personality at the same time and whether they're into it or not into it. Because Timothée could have gone either way with her. He could have been like, my dance move, oh yeah, and really like got into it, and it could have been a really funny bit. But the second you get that awkward, like, wait, what? That's when everything derails real quick.
yeah, it was just so weird. And I think there's another question where she was like trying to get him to do his skeet like he did on SNL with her, and it was just like, just stop. And it's not that hard. Let's be real. It's like, just ask questions out of curiosity rather than like, hey, let's try to do something fun together. Let's try to make a TikTok. Like, stop, you idiot. Like, it's just so stupid. Hopefully she doesn't do it again, because she was just terrible. And I'd rather have someone who's just, I don't know who they are, not a celebrity, not even put myself out for the job. Someone just ask questions out of curiosity. Like, a simple question for Timothée Chalamet red carpet is, okay, it's 3:30 p.m. right now on the red carpet. What time did you start getting ready for it?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. People don't think like you, though, Adam.
Yeah, what did you do last night? How do you get
Yeah,
ready
but
the night
that's what
before the
makes
Oscars?
you good. Other people don't think like that. Other people are like, who are you wearing? What does it feel like to wear Givenchy on the red carpet? Like, no one cares.
Do you want, before we, I saw some rants about this. Do you have a review that
Oh,
you can
yeah.
read to us?
Yep. Hold on.
Yeah,
I got one right here. This one comes from KFW0829. Did I read this one already?
I don't
I
know.
really cannot remember because I read them in real life and then on here, and so it all gets confusing. Anyway, it says, love the countdown, 5 stars. Best celebrity news breakdown, to the point and honest review of how celebrities are in real life. Thank you. And I'm going to read one more just in case I read that one already, so I'm not doubling up. All right, this one comes from KKH8. It says, entertaining, 5 stars. However, please refrain from recommending the Oprah podcast. So we have a service that rolls promos for other podcasts, and Oprah gets referred to a lot within our feed. Like, it's a recommendation of, you may also like this podcast, and Oprah's on there a lot. So I think that's why they're like, stop referring Oprah. Listen, Oprah pays us good money to put her podcast in there, guys. So we gotta listen.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the reviews. Make sure you keep them coming in. It's the best thing you can do to support this podcast. All right, back to the 97th Academy Awards. Overall, it wasn't Conan's fault. It was a very boring award show. It wasn't Conan's fault. The movies this past year, in my opinion, were just not good. The only movie I saw was Bob Dylan. In fact, the movie that won, Film of the Year, Anora. I didn't even know that was had a chance.
I didn't either. Like,
I didn't know anything about it. I knew nothing about it.
It was really funny watching Adam and I talk about these movies, and we're going into the big categories, and we're live, and it's like, okay, here's Best Actor, and I'm like, Timothée Chalamet is going to win, and then he doesn't. Adrien Brody wins. And then next thing you know, we're like, okay, Demi Moore is going to win, and then she doesn't win. And we were shocked. Like, there was some pretty big, I think, categories that left people kind of speechless. And I was reading from some of the people that were actually inside the auditorium, there was a lot of gasps when Demi Moore didn't win. Like, that was a huge category. People thought for sure she's going to win. She won the Golden Globe. She won the SAG. Like, people are going, it's kind of a shoo-in at this point for her to win. And everyone was shocked. And she took it like a champ. She clapped. She did her whole thing. But that has to be such a killer moment where you're watching Demi Moore have this resurgence in her career. She's probably like, I've got this in the bag. Everyone's been, awarding me all the awards. And then boom, Oscar night happens and she loses it. And this is the biggest probably moment in her entire career. And she doesn't get the award. Like, that sucks.
You don't get too many opportunities at chances like this. I mean, it's got to be just the perfect timing, the perfect role, the perfect year. So all the stars lined up for Demi Moore to win this award, and unfortunately she didn't. If you look at headlines the next day, it's like, oh, the winners and losers of the Academy Awards. You tell me there was losers at the Academy Awards? Like, they're wearing tuxes, they're making good money. There was losers at the awards.
No one's a loser. They just didn't get the statue. All those people are winning because they got nominated. They're there. Like, it just sucks to get that close and then not get it. Trust me, as someone who is statueless on my mantle, I feel that pain.
It's so hard to make a movie. It's so hard to get a movie made. Yeah. People don't realize, like, the biggest stars out there are currently trying to pitch projects that don't make it. Even when it comes to making a pilot, that's a huge win. If you get the green light to make a pilot for a TV show, that's incredible. And it takes so much time, and you got to get so many people on board to get something going these days. It's harder than ever because
but don't you agree this is the best thing that could have ever happened to Demi Moore, like her career in general? Even if she didn't win the Oscar, all of the accolades leading up to and people thinking she was going to win, I think she's going to get handed a lot more scripts. Same with Pam Anderson. She got recognized for her work. I think that these women are going to have this massive, second part of their career.
It's a different time of their career. They're older women. They're not the young bombshells that they once were, especially someone like Pam, who's not kind of going for that type of.
Yeah, now it's like, give us the serious roles, give us the roles that we will get respected for versus just like our looks. And so I think this is big for both of them.
I think another bad part with the Academy Awards this year was there was just no star power. You look in the crowd, there's great actors there, but great actors who I don't know their names. Mm-hmm. And there's not like that it factor. There's nothing exciting. I didn't really know who half the people were. In fact, I probably knew who 25% of that crowd was.
Which is weird because normally the Oscars are like, you look into the crowd and everyone and some of those big years where it was, do you remember when it was Angelina Jolie up against Jen Aniston? But so you're looking through the crowd and you're seeing Jen and Angelina and Brad and Clooney and all of these people. And it was not like that this year. And I saw there was did you see that article about how they could fix the Oscars? There was a couple things in there. And and I don't even remember who did that article. But it was really interesting because they were saying, number one, they want to move like the Oscars earlier in January. Like they put out the nominations right December 31st. You go into the new year, just January 15th. Boom, you've got the Oscars. Well, everyone's excited and you're still speaking about all these all these movies that came out last year. And so that was a recommendation. I don't remember one of the other recommendations were it was almost like if you get nominated for an Oscar, you then have to attend the Oscars for the next 3 years so that star power is in the room. And not only that, they kind of like nominate all of these big Hollywood A-listers, whether they're an actual actor or a producer or director, and all of those people need to go to the Oscars so that it like gives it this power, this umph, because right now they've got such a focus on like foreign films and like independent films that don't have the big actors. You start to lose the star power in the room, and that would be a way to like bring people back to watching. And I gotta say, it's not a terrible idea.
Not a bad idea. You look in the room, you want to see the Tom Hanks there. You want to see someone like Tom Cruise, for example, in the room. I mean, that would definitely bring a lot of eyes to Hollywood.
Prestige
but yet again,
comes back.
You want to fight to be in the room, and now the room is just so. Which I'm glad they didn't bring influencers. That would have really done it for me. I know some of these other award shows are bringing a lot of influencers there to be on the red carpets.
It's like Kylie Jenner was front row. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but she was the plus one. She was the plus one. But I wonder if she actually tried on her own behalf to try to get a seat to the Oscars. If she could have got a ticket to the Oscars.
She wouldn't. No chance.
Wait, did I tell you? So one of my buddies is a high-end ticket broker, and someone reached out to me saying, "Hey, can you get me tickets to the Oscars?" So I went to him and I said, "Hey, can you get tickets to the Oscars?" And he's like, "I can, but they're like one of the most expensive things to get." He goes, because essentially what you have to do is you have to pay someone else for their seats.
So how much? Yeah, I want to know how much they would pay to go to the Oscars. I got to imagine it's going to be around $30,000 a ticket or something.
Double that, $60,000.
No, 60 grand.
And you don't know where that seat's going to be. You can't say, "Hey, I'll pay 60,000, but I want to sit next to Kieran Culkin. I want to sit next to."
It's going to be nosebleed, I'm sure, because anyone that's like a priceless ticket to be down low next to all the celebs. So the only person that's going to give up a ticket for 60 grand is going to be up in the rafters.
Yeah, you just don't know where that exactly. So, but people want that photo. People will pay. A lot of producers will pay for that photo of them at the Oscars.
I mean, I would. Can you imagine getting a ticket to the Oscars? It'd be the coolest moment of your life, being there with all these big celebs. Granted, this year would have been a little disappointing. You're like, "Oh, I don't see anyone I know here." But
the after parties were sort of weak. You know, the Vanity Fair party, which, hey, you're not invited to the Oscars, but here's a chance to go off and celebrate Hollywood for a night. And so you have a bunch of the Julianne Houghs of the world showing up, taking photos at the Vanity Fair party. But
by the way, we're talking about how kind of boring and long it was. Viewership was even down for the Oscars. It was down like 7% over last year. I know that Hulu had a bunch of glitches. Like people were saying that they either couldn't log in or it got to like the very end of the show or the last two categories, the categories everyone's waiting for, and then they get kicked out. And I think that's probably because the show was slated to end at, I think, 7:30, if I remember correctly. And then it went on. So if it had an end time on technically in the schedule, it probably kicked people out because they were like, "Oh, and done." If you tried to record this show, I'm sure that it would end at 7:30 rather than continue on because the show continued on. So I bet a lot of people missed out on the end of the show. But they had around like 18 million viewers that were watching. But again, that was down from last year where they had like a 19.5 million watchers, which was big for the Oscars because there had been this like slow decline. And then with the Slapgate, people like, "No, come back." You know, they had that weird COVID year where no one was hosting the Oscars. That did not go over well. But the slap, I think, brought a lot of people back. They were checking it out, like what's going to happen? Are they going to mention it? And so the viewership went up and now went back down a little bit.
That's how you fix the Oscars. Allow Will Smith back. You know, just let him sit there and just keep picking on him the entire time
and just see what happens.
You know what's funny? We kind of let the Will Smith slide on the Slapgate.
I mean,
we kind of like brushed past it. Like it's sort of like that was a very
yes and
serious,
no.
insane thing. He briefly touched on it, but we still didn't get he didn't get a good slap on the wrist for that at
Yeah, but
all.
he also
But
is kind of like he's not taken as serious in Hollywood. I think the him and Jada stuff, it weirds people out so much that he is not like embraced. When I saw him at, what was it, the Grammys recently? I think he was at the Grammys, and I was like, oh wow, Will Smith is there presenting, like this is awkward. He's not welcome like he used to be.
props to Chris Rock for not like burying him as much as he could.
Yeah.
Chris Rock kind of went into it, but he could kind of keep laying into that pretty hard. He could have hosted the Academy Awards the following year, but he didn't do it. He sort of, he kind of took the high road on
Yeah.
dealing with it. When I see, Anora winning Best Picture, it makes me think of other movies that were kind of up for Best Picture in the past few years. And again, I think we all could agree the movies in the past couple of years have not been that great. I would say the best movie in the last 5 years for me, no more than 5 years because it was maybe like 7 years it came out. At least for Academy Award, was La La Land. I think La La Land was one of the best movies I've seen in the last decade as far as up for Academy Award. Nothing else that really kind of stood out for me. But then I looked it up, like Almost Famous with Kate Hudson. All right. That movie made $47.4 million and had a $16 million budget.
That's a flop in Hollywood. 47 million is not a good number to be hitting.
Well, especially when the budget is high at 60 million, you didn't make your money back.
Yeah.
However, the movie did win the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay.
She won. Didn't she win for that too? Was that the year that she won?
Yeah,
I think she did.
An Oscar. She went on for Best Actress in a Supporting Role. So
yeah,
it's just amazing.
That was a big year for her. Yeah.
That movies that don't do well in theaters can still win Oscars. Girl Interrupted, didn't really do crazy well, but won an Oscar. Hugo. Remember Hugo, that Martin Scorsese movie with Chloe Moretz?
Yeah.
That movie didn't do well at all either. That movie did terrible.
Dude,
however, it won. It was ranked as one of the best films of 2011, and it got 11 Academy Award nominations and won 5.
But it's always been like this. I mean, going back to like Citizen Kane, I remember learning in film school how that was a big flop in the theaters, and it lost a bunch of money, but yet came back and they took home a bunch of Academy Awards for it. Like it's funny how the success in the box office doesn't translate over to the Oscars, when I think if they started to incorporate that more, people also might find the Oscars more interesting. Think about that. Like if you start allowing some of these big Marvel movies to enter the fold, if you let some of the big, just popular live action stuff, you might get more viewers tuning in because they feel like they can relate to it. Like I can't relate to a lot of these movies because I've never seen them. So when I see them up there getting their award, I'm like, oh, maybe I should go check out this movie, but I don't even know who these people are. I don't know what the movie's about. And I'm going to assume that I'm not the only person out there that feels this way.
Were you turned off by Adrien Brody doing a very long speech?
We were kind of talking the whole time through it. So I just kept kind of pulling the volume back up and being like, oh my God, he's still going. And then kind of turn it down and then, oh my God, he's still going. I wasn't turned off by it, but I was also chatting with you the whole time. So it wasn't like I was listening to his speech.
I'll tell you what, he is now dating. He's in a relationship with Harvey Weinstein's ex-wife. Okay.
That was wild.
Which you didn't know that. I was like, I don't think a lot of people know that.
Adam broke that news to me. I had no idea. And he goes, oh, that's Harvey Weinstein's ex-wife. I'm like, no, it's not. Get out of here.
Yeah, they've been together for a long time.
You were 100% right.
Since 2019, they've been dating. And he's 51. She's 48. They look great together. When you see her, she's beautiful. Like, it's crazy that this woman who's gorgeous ended up with Harvey Weinstein of all people.
Well, that's the thing. Like, how you went from like an ogre to Adrien Brody. Like, that's a huge transition right there. You know, like, how did you even? I mean, I hate to say it, but like, I'm sure it was the power of the money, the success that she went with Weinstein. But wow, she really is getting like this fairy tale ending. Now she's back at the Oscars. She's with Adrien Brody. He's winning the Oscars. She's like, what a better circumstance to come out on top on that one.
Well, I guess the news was that in his speech, he thanked his girlfriend, this girl, but he also thanked her children, which that's Harvey Weinstein's kids.
Mhm.
And, Harvey, I guess through a spokesman, said Harvey's happy for Georgina and her grateful that his kids are being loved and cared for as they deserve to be, which, obviously Harvey Weinstein didn't say that. It was, it was the publicist, the rep probably
Yeah.
just said that. It is a nice thing to
They're,
say,
they're
but
like, I'm going to make up a quote that makes him sound like a good guy, because in reality, his real quote is, fuck Adrien Brody, fuck that motherfucker.
yeah, yeah, but ballsy move to date Harvey Weinstein's ex-wife. And I'm not saying she's probably bad, but like, is
What is
Harvey
he going to
Weinstein?
do? He's locked
But
up.
that's does he still have power to like hurt you in your? I mean, it's
Dude, he
nice
can't
that
even get he's focused on staying alive right now because his health is in the shambles and trying to get out of prison, which ain't happening. So I think he's got enough on his plate to be worrying about who his ex-wife is hooking up with.
Dax, I want to bring up Justin Bieber. A lot of people are saying online that, and when we say online, I don't like to blame the online Twitter verse, the X verse of what
Yeah.
people are saying, but a lot of people are, I guess, are concerned about Justin Bieber's health, his relationship. You see a lot of these cryptic photos he's been posting on social media. I looked on today. There's a photo of him hitting a bong like that, trying to look cool. I don't understand that photo, but it's very like weird posts. Are you
Mhm.
concerned with Justin Bieber at this moment?
Not really. I mean, I feel like Justin has always had this like up and down lifestyle. I know that there's been a lot of talk about him and Haley not doing well, and I think it doesn't help when like she goes to the Vanity Fair after party solo. Um, that's the part where I think people then are like, wait, why is she going solo? Why aren't they together? What's happening? And I think they just spent a bunch of time together for I want to say his 31st birthday. They were in Idaho. The kid was there. So I think that they're doing okay. I did read a story on People magazine that basically said from a source close to them, they're all good, even with all of the rumors of their relationship falling apart and this and that. That source had said they're totally fine. Don't worry about them. They're used to all of these rumors constantly circling their lives. Don't worry about it. However, the smoking, the bong, all that kind of stuff, I'm like, dude, you're a dad now. Stop. Like, and again, I don't care if you want to do it, but why are you putting it out on your social media? Like, it doesn't make you look cool. Like, everyone's, you're going to get judged. Everyone's going to ask where your kid is, all of that. Like, just smoke your shit in private, and you don't need to put that out there for the world.
Yeah, I would say that's his way of saying screw everyone that's kind of talking smack. It's his way of just saying F you. Like, this is just, I'm going to keep being me.
Do you?
Like when he was in New York recently, people were like, how's
Yeah.
Justin doing? I was like, he seems like he's the same guy to me. I mean, the people he's hanging out with, I don't know who they are. I mean, they're just kind of interesting look, but he's a guy who just sort of wants to live as normal life as possible, but it's not that normal. There's a lot of paparazzi that work on him because it's a news story, and his photo is one of the few photos for a male that sells. A lot of photos of guys don't sell. Like, it's not worth paparazzi chasing down Pedro Pascal because no one cares about Pedro Pascal. However, the public cares what style, what fashion Justin Bieber's doing. What's he doing? What's he look like? Does he look happy? So to me, Justin Bieber is like a guy who just wants to live as normal life as possible. And when you do see photos, like he was at the Laugh Factory maybe about 6 weeks ago, seen a show, and afterwards I think he met a bunch of the comics and took photos with the comics who like wanted photos with. He looks great. He looks happy. He looks like, he's like in his element. You saw photos of him hanging out with Dave Chappelle recently. Like, he looked happy, like a nice guy, but he doesn't like being photographed. He doesn't like all this crazy attention. Like, he just wants to live a normal life.
Yeah. And I would say, it's funny about the whole situation because we see the bong, we see him taking rips off it. We don't judge people when they hold up a bottle of champagne. Why is it so still taboo with marijuana when it's legal in most places at this point? Why is it so weird still?
Yeah, I think it's good for for clicks.
Mhm.
It's there's a stigma around marijuana, even though it's legal.
Yeah,
He's not
but
doing
it's
anything illegal.
I think though, like in 20 years, like we probably sound super old to younger people that are like, "Pfft, it's weed. What are you talking about? Like why you can take a picture of someone holding beer, it's not weird. Why when they have a joint in their hand is it weird when it's all legal? I don't get it.
Yeah, I the one thing I get. Listen, I'm a big Bieber fan. I think Bieber. I'm a fan music wise. I'm more a fan of Justin Bieber than Justin Timberlake.
I
You? How do
agree.
you feel?
Same.
Yeah, Bieber puts out hits. I mean, there's some great songs there. Justin Timberlake songs, his albums to me, I like me personally. I listen to the first commercial song, the radio hit song. After that, the rest of the album usually sounds the same. Bieber, you're like, man, boom, like it's just hits.
Dude's got
And
talent.
he's or he works with great teams and great producers. His fashion recently, and I do love his fashion usually, but lately I'm not really a fan of the fashion he's been doing. It's like too baggy. It's too insane and too
It's too
weird.
baggy.
So
Baggy's in, bro. Baggy's in. Not that
Maggie's
I can
in.
get away with it, but baggy is in. It's weird.
You know what what do you so I go, I saw it. I follow Armie Hammer on social media. So
Oh, you saw this interview?
before it even made news, I watched the clip of Armie Hammer talking
Yeah.
about his gay experience, which I said to you right away. It's like, this is going to make news. And this is like really I don't want to say uncomfortable because to some people it might not be uncomfortable, but it was a very tough conversation to listen to, very unique. You're like, oh God. I mean, you listened to it and I know you made you erect, but for me, But Armie Hammer does an interview, and in the clip that he posts on his social, it just goes right into. There's no like setup. It just goes to Armie Hammer talking about trying to hook up with a guy, and he met some French guy, and he's big and strong. He's like,
dude, you know why? Because he knows what he's doing. He like this Armie Hammer doing the podcast, his own podcast. It's called Armie Hammer Time Podcast. I guess it's Hammer Time Podcast. Hammer Time Podcast. I think by him doing this, it was the smartest move for him to try to rehabilitate his career because it's just him getting to talk and say his point of view on everything. And he even got into the whole cannibalism controversy in this one, and we'll get to that. But he was on there with this actress and mental health coach. I think it's Danny Drews, and they're talking about everything. And he said, look, there was a time in my life where I felt like women were the worst and that they had basically screwed him over. And so he was like, I'm going to try hooking up with dudes. Like, why not? And then he said there was one time that he went to go like hook up with this like French dude. And he said it was very weird because feeling like the scratchy beard when he's like going to like kiss the dude, he was like, it was weird. And putting his arms around him, he's like, he's only been with women. And then he goes to like hug someone that's bigger than him. He was like, the whole thing was really just strange perspective of only being with women. And then now kind of like hooking up with guys. And then I guess the guy went down to like grab his dick and he was like, whoa, I'm not erect. So I can't have you be touching this thing. It was just, he's so open and honest. And I think that this is good for his brand. I think people will start to like Armie Hammer because they're hearing the perspective, and they got into the cannibalism thing. And he's like, no, the definition of cannibalism is eating another human. I've never eaten another human being. He goes, the only thing I've had a bite of a heart from an animal during like a hunting ritual was like, he took a bite of the heart. He's like, that's it. Like, people eat, sausages with like that have like pig skin around them. He's like, it's the same thing. But I know cannibalism, he's like, he chalks up to being like joking as a comedian would joke, and it's kind of gotten blown out of perspective.
See, it makes me wonder if Armie is now welcomed in the gay community, and this like really gets him involved there, because that is a big audience. So that audience is like, hey, here's a guy who tried us out. I don't know. Who knows if the gay audience is like, no, we need to start supporting this guy. And also, I think everyone loves an open book. And I think he's one of those guys like, I have nothing to lose at this moment. Again, playing a page, and the Johnny Depp, the Justin Baldoni, and now Armie Hammer's doing it too. Like, I'm gonna be so honest, that's gonna make people feel uncomfortable. However, they're gonna tune in and like me.
I think honesty will get people so much further in life, especially in the public eye. When people are honest and they don't, I mean, look at Howard Stern. Howard Stern literally made one of the biggest careers off being honest, holding absolutely nothing back. You know, I always used to laugh every time he'd get on and be like, "Oh yeah, I just got done whacking off in this morning." Like, just stuff where you're just like, "Why did you even tell me that? I don't know why you told me that," but it makes you interesting. It makes you fascinating because there's no limits to your stories, and to an audience, that's exactly what you would want. So I think Armie is going to bring himself back into the good graces real fast using this podcast.
Do you have any opinion on how Gene Hackman passed away?
I mean, I can say my guesses, but it is purely based on guessing and nothing else, you know. So obviously they had found, where we left off on Friday on the Raw Rundown, was that they had found him and his wife's body along with one of their dogs in their Santa Fe home, and that the initial suspicion was that it was like some kind of carbon monoxide poisoning. It seems like that has now been ruled out. Found out that they were dead for like 9 days before anyone found their bodies. And so it had gone into this like mummification process, which sounds like super creepy, but I guess that's just the normal process of decaying bodies, and very bloated. And there were pills around. So I'm wondering if there was some type of like joint suicide thing that they did. Again, pure speculation. But for both of them to have passed away in this manner, it really makes me wonder, was there some kind of joint suicide, or one of them passed away and the other one decided to take their life because they didn't want to be on Earth without them? But the only weird part about that is, why leave the dog locked up in the kennel then? That's the part where I can't comprehend, is if you love your animal, you wouldn't leave them caged up. So that's the only reason I'm like, wait, this has to be an accident. Like, why would you ever leave your animal caged up to die from starvation, and then the other two of them out running around? So I don't know. I'm still very torn. I don't know anymore. I think that we're really waiting on toxicology, see what was in their body at the time, because that's going to shed a lot of light on if those pills had made it into their body. Did they consume too much? Was this on purpose? Or, I mean, the back door was open. It seems like there's nothing. There's no signs of some kind of like forced entry. So I guess we really need to wait and see.
It's so unique because I feel like in the last few years, we've seen kind of paparazzi photos of Gene Hackman. And obviously when you saw those photos, it did not look anything like Gene Hackman. Yeah, he just had an interesting life the last few years. I mean, living in Santa Fe, I don't really have an idea either. I mean, there was no, I guess, abuse to the body so far. So it's really come down to the toxicology reports.
It's all going to be toxicology. Like, that is going to be the biggest thing, is toxicology.
Who was the first person? I guess at first, though, we thought it was carbon monoxide. Yeah.
So that's what they thought at first, but they ruled that out pretty quickly. Once they got there, there was no signs. I guess there was like a space heater near them that they're like, oh, that could actually put out some kind of toxins. But everything is kind of slowly kind of being ruled out. So at this point, we need to know what was in their body at the time. Yeah,
and they were both in different rooms when they found the bodies. So it's very sad. Very sad. I mean, Gene Hackman was one of those actors that I kind of forgot. Honestly, can I be honest with you, Dex? The only movie I knew him from was from Superman. I know he was in a bunch of other stuff.
We talked about Birdcage.
Yeah, I guess Birdcage. I forgot it. But he wasn't the man in Birdcage. Like he
was a supporting character in that movie.
He was a supporting character. I don't even think of him as in Birdcage. Mine was like just Superman. He was great in Superman.
I mean, huge in Superman. Superman was obviously Lex Luthor, huge, massive role for him. Or I don't know if it was a massive role for him, but for me, it was a massive role just because that Superman was like while I was growing up. So that's what made him well known in my mind. But
Bill
I don't
Murray
know.
did. Bill Murray did an interview where he talked about how hard it was working with Gene Hackman. He was very tough to young directors. I guess old Hollywood. They were older Hollywood. From what it sounds like to me, were just assholes to people. It was just there was no HR department. So these guys were stars and they knew they could get away with a lot and they demanded a lot. And I guess they when they did, it was the Royal Tenenbaums and it was Wes Anderson, that Gene Hackman, was just very tough on the director, Wes Anderson, which is kind of to be a fly in the wall in that room and just see what would happen.
No kidding. Wow.
All right. I got to kind of go try to chase someone. I got to try to get someone.
Who do you
today.
got coming up? Anyone good?
I don't know if I'm going to, I'm going for, it's not like too great. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if I have a small tip. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get there in time because of the podcast, but going for Pete Buttigieg. Yeah, exactly. It's more
have fun.
Yeah, that's not fun. There's no one else for me. I could go for Kevin Hart, but I see Kevin Hart all the time. And Pete Buttigieg is sort of like clickbaity for me, sort of newsworthy. Talk about the tariffs, talk about what's going on. So it's not my ideal thing, but I just know I can make money on it.
There's something about the White House brawl with Zelensky or something you want to bring up. Whatever. That's not for our podcast. So
that is not for our podcast. Again, I'm just chasing clicks and trying to pay and make enough money to pay for my health insurance. Thank you guys for watching. If you're watching on YouTube or Red Coral, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Follow our private Facebook group called Off the Record. Fun community. We got a really good episode next week, by the way.
Yeah, we do. It's going to be really good. We actually already recorded it, but needed an extra week for editing and stuff just because it's going to be a good show and wanted to spend an extra couple minutes on like really making it awesome.
Yeah.
Can we talk? I mean, can we say who it is? It doesn't matter, right?
No, we'll talk about it next week.
Okay.
We'll talk because there's probably like a story behind the story. We'll talk about it next week. Next week's episode's really good. Not like today was that bad, but next week's really good. Follow me at Adam Glyn, follow Dax Holt, Dax Holt, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
What's up, guys? If you like that video, there's plenty more where that came from.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell so we can just feed you all the goodness daily.
Hurry up. Come on, let's go.